Oh, that was weird. Okay. Coach Schumann here. Welcome to the Prospect Podcast. I'm here with Coach D as always on Martin Luther King Day on a Monday, busy Monday today. And we have the head coach over at RJ Reynolds down in Winston, North Carolina, Coach Davidyock. Welcome to the podcast today, Coach.
I appreciate you guys for having me. We were talking, Coach D and I, before we started. It was like we were trying to get this done, and finally we were able to get it done. So we're excited.
It's always a busy schedule, and of course, out of football season gives you a little more time. So, but it's great to talk to you on this morning. Before we get started, jump into your background as a player and as a coach, and kind of the genesis up to you taking over at RJ Reynolds.
Yeah. So I played at Townsville East High School in Townsville, New Jersey. I played for Charlie Diskin for my 4 years, and then graduated in 2015. He was actually my offensive coordinator at the time. He played at Greensboro College and coached at Greensboro College for a little bit, and just getting to know him, building a relationship with him. He felt like I would be a really good fit for that place. So there was a off-season weekend. He brought me down to kind of meet the staff and hang around the guys a little bit. I had a little visit, and then I just loved it. So I ended up moving there. And my naive behind didn't understand financial aid and all that other stuff. So playing wasn't in the cards financially for me, going to a private institution and, still having some money to, pay. So I started working, and I knew I wanted to coach, so it was fine with me at the end of the day. So I got hooked up with it's another school right down the street from Greensboro College, UNCG, UNC Greensboro, and they had a club team, so I jumped on with them. I thought it was just gonna be like a, slappy manager guy. Somehow there were some staff changes. I got to be the office coordinator. I was 18. I'm like, yeah. I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. And so, club teams funded by, who pretty much your staff and your student advisory board, right? So that they raise all the money. Well, our head coach was like a, multi-million-dollar businessman. And he wanted to coach football like his whole life. So we got lucky on that one. So, he kind of funded the whole program. We did that for a year, and I had so much fun, but I was so unprepared, and unequipped to be a coordinator at that time, really be a position coach. Like I had no foundation. And all I really knew was to just call the people that I knew from high school and just do the best that I could. Right. So after a year of that, I wanted to really get into full-time coaching, and I got hooked up with a new coach in town in Kernersville, Bishop McGinnis High School. It's a Catholic private school. And he hired me to be his quarterbacks and receivers coach. So we did that. It was a really kind of downtrodden school at the time, with some great years previously. And we had 23 kids on the team.
Wow.
And, yeah. So we were trying to figure it out. We had some like running backs playing guard. Like it was dumb. But we had so much fun. The kids were great. And I really learned how to like coach that year. Because the guy I worked for, he was only 27 at the time, Coach Hackett. And he'd coach some big time programs. And he just taught me how to be like, just have fun with it. But like, this is what it's supposed to look like organizationally. And I felt like I had a good footing there. And then Coach Corio, who coached me in high school, moved back down to North Carolina. And he was already at Southeast Guilford. So I did a year at Bishop McGinnis. Coach Corio got me hooked up with Coach Tinsley at Southeast Guilford, and he hired me to be the quarterbacks coach. So I did a year at Bishop, went to Southeast Guilford. And my first year at Southeast in 2018, we went to the state championship. And I was like, dude, this stuff is easy. Like I'm sitting there at 20 and I'm already in the state championship game. We lose that game to Weddington. We played really bad, but I coached a great kid. I was very blessed to have that as my quarterback. Ryan Douglas was one of the best kids I've ever coached, probably the best quarterback I've ever gotten to coach in my life. He went on to pitch in Division II, and now he's at Charlotte now pitching. And he did a great job. So we did 2 years at Southeast Guilford. The second year we went to the third round, I believe, and lost in the third round. So we had a lot of winning there while we were there. Mm-hmm. And then we got the opportunity to go to Mallard Creek in Charlotte. Mallard Creek's like at least around here is, very recognized brand. They played a national schedule.
Yep.
Mike did a great job. Like Thad Moss was there, Marquise Williams, who played at Carolina. Big time guys were there. So we got the opportunity during COVID year to take that job. I came in as a receivers coach, and I did kind of about everything. I did the recruiting, I did wide receivers, I did quarterbacks. I was the JV head coach, I was JVOC. Then I became the offense coordinator my last year. So 3 seasons of just learning how to run a program. I got a front row seat. And I was 25, 26 in my last 2 years there. And I had so many hats, and I learned so fast. And then I was, again, pushed by, Coach Corio to kind of just put my name in the hat in a couple low-level jobs that, struggle, but just to get in the interview room. So I did that, and I went to RJ Reynolds and interviewed there. They were a program that's really struggled. I actually stumbled upon Reynolds. It's right in the middle of the city. I drove past, and I was like, there's no way this team is this bad in the middle of the city. Like, there's no way. And then it came open. I put my hat in and interviewed really well. I thought I connected really well with the admin, and was fortunate to get the job. I was 26 years old and probably didn't need the head coaching job, but it's been a great ever since. We just finished up year 3 and went to the playoffs for the first time since 2017, and first winning season since 2016. And so we're getting better every year. So it's been a great, and I've enjoyed it.
Very cool. Wow. So you were 26 when you took over as head coach?
Yeah, 26 years old.
That's incredible. And you've had success since doing that. Talk about how, first of all, what made you want to become a head coach? Like what let's start there. Like where, as you were kind of starting that early journey, did you say, hey, this is something that I wanted to do?
Yeah, I think being with Coach Tinsley for as long as I was, and being around the staffs that we had, we were really fortunate. It's probably really unrealistic, the staffs that we had at the high school level. I just really enjoyed the organizational piece. I really enjoyed building the people. I probably enjoy that more than sometimes some of the scheme, because I think it enhances the scheme in a lot of ways. And I've always been in leadership positions. Like, I think I was 16, 17 running a diner when I was in high school. In the off seasons, I was a manager, which I don't know why. There was a water park I worked at over the summer.
Yeah, we'll do any job, right? That'll bring something in, buddy. When you're at that age, like, we'll just take anything that has some structure and gives a steady paycheck. So
100%. So I was running that diner, and then I became a supervisor at this water park in Seaside. I was running the foods department. So I was doing that. And then when I moved to North Carolina, all of a sudden I was bartending and key holding and restaurant biz. I was always in a leadership spot.
Right.
And I always liked leading people. I liked building relationships with people. And I think that's what being a head coach is all about. You build relationships with people, you lead them to be the best that they can be. And I've always really liked being in a team atmosphere. So I think that really pushed me. I was very fortunate to be around really good guys that gave me a good footing and good foundation, on how to build a program. And, I think I'm just building off of that, really.
Yeah, I think that when you took over as a head coach, talk about how the responsibility shift was it for you, especially being young. What was some of the things that you were like, oh, okay, wow, this is what it is, and what were some of the things that you just thought, man, no brainer, just jumped right in, I was prepared for?
Yeah, I think the easy stuff was being with the kids. Kids are easy. Right. They're resilient. They figure it out. They adjust really well. I was still, I was 26, so I can still kind of relate to them. I feel like they've passed me by now, and I'm not that far in. But that was the easy part. The kids are the easy part. You just had to try to get them to believe in themselves. What I really struggled with, I think early on, that was a big adjustment for me. I think I came from a staff that was always in the office working, always. And then I get to Reynolds, and the staff kind of blew up, and I was by myself for the first 3-4 months. doing everything. That was really hard. And I got my first taste of like leadership is lonely. You know, and at that time you're just trying to gather as much data and information as you can of how this place works and why we've gotten here and how we can fix it. So that was probably the biggest adjustment. And I think the other biggest adjustment, I was talking to my wife the other night, like at the time I was really worried about fundraising. Like I had never had to fundraise on my own for a program. That was going to be a big adjustment for me, and how to do that the best that I can and make the most money for this program that we can and build it the way we want to. So all of that, those two things I think were the biggest concerns I had moving in. And it worked itself out. But those were like, man, I was not equipped for those things.
Right. And especially, Coach, I think to piggyback on that, right, is like this was a program that was kind of different than ones that you had been at before, right? Like this was a little more inner city where, you know, just some of the things that you deal with in those types of situations are different than, look, every school has its challenges and has its, you know, dynamics that are different than other places. But a lot of that kind of sets it up where maybe that wasn't in place before. And now you don't have any framework or groundwork, right? And like you said, you're starting off and it's you for the first couple months, like literally just you. And you're just trying to get to know your team or just have enough kids on the roster to like formulate the team. And now to go into it and, okay, well, we can fundraise and we can do this and we can do that, but is that going to work here? You know, so, and I think that's one of the things when we talk to head coaches across the board, it's always one of those things that comes up that a lot of guys don't even think about going into sometimes even an interview process. And you get a non-football guy on that interview committee that says, well, how are you going to make money for this program? Or how are you going to make money for this school? Man, if you don't have that, you know, chapter in your binder, you're already sitting behind the 8 ball. I think now with technology and the way we can fundraise now, like you're not going door to door or selling wrapping paper or cookie dough or whatever some of that shit is. I think there's a lot of innovative ways that guys can do things. But I mean, just attest to that in terms of like where it was fundraising and where you had to go.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually really fortunate when I came into Reynolds. The guy before me actually was a banker. So he didn't work in the building. So he knew a lot of people. He had a lot of connections. Like he had a connection to Champion. They had Champion uniforms when I got there. Like at one point, you know, I found them. You know, so he did a really great job of fundraising. I walked into an $8,000 account.
Oh, nice.
Which is great. Like
for down there, right? Yeah. I'm trying to put it in perspective of like, you know, where we are. You know what I mean? Like certain programs and states and stuff like that. Like we're talking money of size and all that kind of stuff. Like we know football is extremely expensive across the board.
And to walk in with something in the green, like I was
right. Yeah. You had positive, right?
Yeah. So I was like, all right, man, like I could do a little bit of something with that. So I had to make some plans about how we're going to use that money, but then also how to supplement. Right. And like you said, technology has made it so much easier. You know, and I don't have to work very hard with that as much as I thought I would. I'm very fortunate. Like we were talking before the show, we got a very strong alumni base, and all that is just building relationships with those people that really care about our school and want to see us be successful. And I think you got to, draw this picture for them of where we're going. And
another piece of becoming a head coach that people don't understand, like you got to connect with that alumni. Look, whether it's a good program, bad like find some positive aspect of something. It might not be a football player. It might have been a really good basketball player. Some positive form in alumni that can now basically green light you as the new guy in charge of, hey, let's do something with this guy. And you know what I mean? Like that's really, really important is those relationships. I've seen Coach Shu do it when he takes over, when he's taking over at places. You know, I've watched other guys do it. Everybody has their own little stitch or how they go about it. But that connection to alumni is pivotal. It's really, really important, especially a guy coming like you were in state, but you're an out of state guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you got to get somebody to sign off on it and be like, hey, you're good.
100%. You know, I had some parents looking at me like, he's 26. What does he know?
Oh yeah. That's, I'm sure, a huge hurdle you had to come over or overcome.
Yeah. And then, you know, like It worked out. It obviously worked out. You know, I have very good alumni that still take care of our program, want to be a part of it. So I'm very fortunate for that, and I make sure those people are taken care of. And you know, it's as simple as sometimes like during Christmas, you just text them, "Hey, Merry Christmas! I appreciate everything you do for
Happy
us."
holidays, buddy. Like
Yeah,
it's
like those things are important, and they love that. Write them a
Yep.
handwritten note. Like I learned that early. Write them. Don't
yeah.
if they're 70 whatever, they want a handwritten note. Guess what? I got notes in my file cabinet that we write handwritten notes and we send them out. You know, especially if they give $250 for a kid to go to camp,
Right.
they're gonna get a handwritten letter from me.
Damn
Um,
right.
and I want to make sure the kid signs it too. Like,
Right.
That too. I was just gonna say, yeah, like so
yeah,
that
you
young guy,
know,
and look, kids don't understand it either, and you got to explain it to them. It's part of the
100%.
maturation process. Like, buddy, let me just explain to you what a handwritten note does for somebody. You know what I mean? Or why are we doing this, right? And it goes back, circle around where you said like you enjoy the development of the kids off the field just as much as you do the schematics and winning games and doing all that. And for the most part, guys say it, but like if you're really in it for these kids, like that's what you're doing. You're helping them set them up for the future, and little things like that, like understanding how big of a difference a handwritten note or that communication, just reaching out of knowing who it is. I mean, this guy's sitting here paid for you to go to camp, buddy. So he's giving you an opportunity to do something that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do. Like at least we can do something like that.
100%.
Well, Coach, when you took over the program, you know, you were at Mallard Creek for a while, which is a powerhouse down in North Carolina, or one of the powerhouses down there. And there's some really, really great programs down in North Carolina, especially in the Charlotte area over there. And talk about, you know, what that program was like, and are there things that you say, hey man, I got to emulate this within your program, right? Because you guys you made the playoffs this year, and you know you're continuing to like grow your program. Um, talk about, you know, those things that you want to see that you can take the next step on, and some of the things that you saw from like a really good program like Mile Creek.
Yeah. I think, you know, one of the things at Mallard Creek, man, we're very fortunate. It people want to coach and want to play for established brands. It is simple,
Right.
right? So we were very unrealistic when it came to staffing. We were very unrealistic to some of the talent we had. Like I tell my kids, like my kids always ask, like, Coach, can I play at Mallard Creek? Probably not, big dog. Like we were pretty freaking good. But we don't have those guys at Reynolds, and that's fine. It's all about development. But I think the only way you can develop, right, is you got to build a program on accountability and discipline. And when I was at Mallard Creek, those were 2 of our 7 core principles. You know, I've gone down to 5 myself, and those are 2 of my 5 core principles, because I believe kids need structure more than ever. They need a strong figure to lead them in the direction they want to go.
Right.
And I think in today's world, accountability and discipline is so hard to come by, because a lot of kids don't have. They may have structure at home, or they may not. The school sometimes doesn't have the structure that they really need. And I think coming into Reynolds, I was like, that's going to be, if nothing else, we're going to work on accountability and discipline in our program. You know, because I heard from, you know, kids or even some coaches that were a part of the previous regime, like their best players could sit for 2 days out of the week of practice and start on Friday. Like, we're not going to do that. You're going to be here every day for practice on time. You know, you're going to be involved in the game plan. You're going to understand the game plan. You got to know it and execute it. And if you're not going to do that, you're going to have to move. You know, grades and going to class like wasn't a big deal for the football program, because there was a lot of kids that would skip class and end up starting on Friday. We just don't do that. You know, that I don't think that builds winning habits. I don't think it builds winning people. I don't think it takes you very far in life. You know, and then when we went to school, like we didn't have to deal with that stuff. It was just ingrained in us. You went to class, you went to school, and you shut the heck up. Like, this is what it was. You know, so I think you wanted to try to build a great staff at Reynolds for one, because we had a great staff at Mallard Creek.
Yes.
I have a great staff at Reynolds. Is it the level that I had at Mallard Creek that I got to coach with? Probably not in a lot of areas, but those guys do a great job and they're good for the kids. But I also wanted to make sure that our staff was going to be really focused on building accountability and discipline for these kids because that's what I was going to focus on. We were going to build a year-round program because that's what we're at this point in football.
Right.
And
which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and they weren't doing that, and we're still learning that. Like, we're not great at off-season stuff. We're still not.
Wow,
And
interesting.
we're not, and not to the level I'm used to. Like the kids
Right.
at Mount Creek, that's all they had was football. You know,
Right.
not a lot of kids played another sport at Mount Creek. Not that we didn't want them to, they just
Right.
didn't. Football was their thing.
Right.
Here, I have a lot more multi-sport athletes than I did at Mount Creek. Great, but
Which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. And it's not my whole team. It's probably about half. Half my team does something else, which is great. And here, you know, some of the kids don't need football. Some of the kids, this is all they got. But then there's boundaries and barriers they got to get past, rides to workouts and all this other stuff, right? You know, so there's a lot there. But I think in order to win at a high level anywhere, you got to have kids that are accountable and disciplined. So we had to make sure we built that here.
No doubt. And you know, it's interesting because I was just looking at like last year, you guys were like at one point undefeated, right? And then then you guys ran into the fourth size teams that were real difficult teams, and that had an effect on the rest of the season. Talk about how you know, are able to, as you continue to evolve, like from a program that's really like starting to get more everyday kids. Because one of the difficult things of the South versus, and even North Carolina, although people probably still think North Carolina is a basketball state, but they don't realize that there's so many great football players in North Carolina. It's insane how many good football players there are.
God damn right.
Yeah.
But talk about how, like, because I think that's a difficult part in states like North Carolina, where there are kids that are like so all in on one sport, whether it's football, baseball, right? And obviously you coach football, so it affects, you know, when you play teams that they might be like literally football track kids, you know what I mean? And then you run into a juggernaut like that, and all of a sudden, you know, you're still trying to build that part of it, right? And you got kids that might play multi sports and kind of take football as it's important, but it's not as important. Talk about how you continue to, like, I feel like, you know, as you're building it, it has to be piecemealed, right? Like you're slowly getting everybody to buy in on that whole process. Like, this is what our standard is. We need a little more each year so we can get us to the mountaintop there. Talk about how you kind of are implementing that within your program.
Yeah, I think you know, when I got to Reynolds, a lot of our more talented football players played lacrosse. Believe it or not, we're actually very good.
Lacrosse has become big in North Carolina. Yep.
South in general, it's grown tremendously in the last, you know what I mean? Like, it's just.
But it's gone down this East Coast thing, lacrosse, where it was Maryland. It was so big.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia's enormous, and right below Virginia is North Carolina. So it's kind of like working its way down.
No doubt. And those were you're fine. Those were our better kids. I mean, they're more aggressive. They're more athletic. They're, you know, like they was just different build a kid. Then we had some kids that ran track, not a lot of them. And then I was never successful. I'm still having a hard time with basketball kids. They don't want to play football. Now our JV basketball team is pretty much, except for maybe 3 guys, are my guys.
Right.
They're freaking dogs. Like,
and
they get after it. And they're fun to watch. I can't get any of the varsity guys to come out.
Interesting.
Because they're all basketball. They don't want to. Parents
all day long basketball, right?
Yeah, like AAU all off season. They can't lift because it'll throw their shot off. Like,
you still gotta pat, like, buddy, this is not what we're talking about. Like, it's not the same thing.
They still think it'll throw their shot off, huh?
Yeah, there's and it's part of the culture of outside of Reynolds. It's not necessarily Reynolds.
No, it's not the school itself, because I'm sure there are other head coaches dealing with the exact same thing you are, coach.
100%.
Like, There's no doubt. It's just sometimes it's what's ingrained in them. It's what their parents know. It's what everybody surrounding
it could
them
be
know.
AAU.
It's
It
what
could
the club
be AAU.
coaches do
Yeah.
and are saying and telling them. And, hey, this is your shot. You only got one opportunity and, all that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's just that, it's that mind game that they play.
And I think we've gotten better with those basketball kids as we've gone. Now we're at a point now that we started winning a little bit. They're like, that brand new stadium we got out there and all those nice uniforms we just got, man, I might want to be a part of that. And that's fine by me. Like, if that's what gets them interested, that's kind of part of the deal. But like, those kids would help us in a heartbeat. But at the same time, I look at my kids, and I always ask them, like, what are you doing in the winter? What are you doing in the spring? I'll probably just lift. Let's be honest. You're not lifting that hard. Okay. I've watched you for 2 years now. You ain't lifting that hard. What are you doing in the winter and the spring? And they're like, well, nothing. I'm like, why don't you go run track? Go play baseball. Go go play lacrosse. I don't care. Like, go do something. Go compete. Like, at the end of the day, just go compete.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Go compete.
And a lot of my kids think about it, and some take the challenge and some don't. And as long as my biggest thing is like, okay, here's your two options. Either you go play another sport, you're working out with me. Those are your two choices. And they kind of look at that, and most of them understand that. I got one of my kids who was a starter as a sophomore. He's playing JV basketball, and he's like, this is my last year of basketball. I'm like, but you're good at it. Just go compete. Who cares? He's like, but I love football. I'm like, good. Love basketball too. There's nothing wrong with it. Right? You make us better at the end of the day. Don't you want the school to be good? Like, that's what I want. I want the athletic department to be winning. I can't stand the fact that, like, what bothers me at Reynolds is we're very one-sided in our sports. We only care about the sport that we take care of. I don't care about that. I want football to be good because I know it's going to make everybody else good.
Is it other coaches that sometimes are, or is it the culture that it was before you even got in there? Or
it's culturally,
yeah,
because they're not bad people. They're just so tunnel visioned into what they're doing, and that's fine. I think that's fine at the end of the day. I think I tell some of my buddies who want to be head coaches, I think you shouldn't be a head coach. You're not going to be an ambassador for your school.
Right.
If you're only going to be a football coach,
100%. You're 100%. And look, just to go at, like, and look, you're from up here, so you understand it. Like, that's kind of the culture where I'm at right now. Like, it is not across all sports where everybody's there's the vertical alignment of, like, yeah, everybody wants to win, but not everybody's willing to do the certain things that it needs to take across the board to win. Right. Because even, I think size of your school has a lot to do with it, because your best football player is probably, is definitely going to help your basketball team. So if he don't play basketball, like, that level of talent drops, and now your team drops. And just being overall supportive of multi-sport guys, especially now in this day and age when, for everything other than, like, you can play whatever sport you want to play basically year round across the board. And if, you got a guy telling you got to do this, you got just those parameters in general, like, right, kind of restrict kids or shy kids away from playing other sports because they don't want to be passed by or, whatever. And, we talk about this all the time on here is, what choice are you going to make? And when it comes to that, right? Because you could be a 3-sport athlete and still be a high level player, right? Now, because you're a 1-sport guy and you're focusing on those skills, now you might be better right now, but for the overall development in the long run, in the grand scheme of it, look, college coaches walking in the building, first thing they're asking is, what other sport does he play?
Yeah, it gets put on the prospect sheet.
So right now, in this transition of, portal world and NIL and all that other kind of stuff, man, like, where we're really splitting hairs for the high school athlete to get to that next level, like, you running track, and you might not, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be the star in every sport that you're playing, man. That's another thing that adds to it. We talk about that all the time too. Just playing a different role or understanding a different role, right? You might be the star basketball player, but now you're, coming
Special
on, you're
teams.
playing one way, special team, you're a teamer guy, right? But you now understand that, or vice versa, right? Like you're the starting quarterback, but you're the seventh guy in basketball coming off a bench. How do you handle that, right? That mental fortitude that it takes to kind of not be the man, because that's what college is, right? Everybody's the man when you go to college. And now, how do you understand that? Coaches want to see that. And when we're in an era of splitting hairs when it comes to getting to that next level, that stuff is really important.
Yeah.
But look, we all know that football rules the roost. And when you have a good football season, not only like your school year is different, right?
Yeah.
I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast, right? Like you good football season, school year is better, right? Disciplinary issues aren't such an issue. Other teams rise to the occasion because, hey man, like we set the tone in the fall and now like we can all win games, or it's just it's the biggest team in the school. Everybody knows who the football players are. If it's a good culture and a winning culture, a positive culture, the school culture changes and the school culture grasps that. And administrators who understand that, coaches who understand that it makes my job a lot easier with whatever team I have or in the school itself, like have more success. And I think if a lot of guys like kind of, followed suit, and that's girl sports, that's boys sports, that's across the board when it comes to it. Sports are still a pivotal part of the high school experience.
Yep, 100%. I agree with that. That's what we say here.
No, there's no doubt. Talk about your year-round program. Like, what do you guys focus on from a development standpoint? Are there particular emphasis that you have, like those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's weights and speed work and that stuff.
Right.
I do wish sometimes,
you have
like
a system that you guys operate. Do you have a system? Like, do you guys do like progression?
So my first year I was doing it myself, right? And I was still trying to learn how to program for like well enough for our kids to, and then on top of that, off season was not a thing for them when I got here, right?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to change that culture. Like that's real difficult.
Year 2, I was fortunate enough to have a full-time strength guy.
That's awesome.
So he did it all. But where I went wrong was I didn't pay attention to what he was like doing. Right now, he left me a lot of stuff because he ended up having to leave. Not because he wanted to, because he had to.
Right.
So now I'm back to doing it again. So now I'm like, I want to start over, clean the slate, and be like, all right, what do we need? What do we need? What's going to make us be really good from February to May before summer starts? Right? What's going to drive numbers? What's going to drive participation? What's going to drive competition? And how are we just going to get stronger and faster? So we implement a lot of the feed the cat stuff.
Yeah.
I don't follow it to a T. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't follow it to a T. I think I probably need to, but I need to research it more myself. Right. So I'm in this world of like, all right, I'm getting better too in the off season. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And kids see that, just, kids see that shit. They're like, wow, coach is like, like just not the same stagnant type of, we did it last year, so this is what we're doing now, or just, I think that, especially with today's kid who is so quick to, look other places, or they go do the research on their own and come back and say, hey coach, like, why don't we do this? Or how come, you said we're doing this type of program, why can't we do this? Or like they do this, why aren't we doing that? You got to have some of those answers. Otherwise it's real. Kids are real quick to be like, he don't know what's going on. He don't know what he's talking about, and I think being from Jersey and being, probably with the feed the cat stuff is probably, coach, while you popped up on the algorithm, right? Like, because we've interviewed and talked to a whole bunch of these guys. Tony Holler's been on a bunch, like, we've had the whole crew. And look, not every guy that's using it or utilizing it, they're not following it to a T. They're tweaking it to their program and how it kind of, you know what I mean? Because look, Tony's a track guy and we're talking about football, and you know what I mean? Like, there still has to be your own little twist to it. Right. And I think that's where the ownership part comes in, of like, this is our program. This is kind of how we're going to do things. I mean, look, Coach Shoes implemented it with his middle school team. He's got 10-year-olds doing, practicing with this process of how it is. How did you get them to buy into it? The kids how did you get them to, hey, wait, off season, like February to May is extremely important. Now, I did have one question. Do you guys have spring ball?
Yeah, we can.
Oh,
And we try. I mean, like, it's what actually is going to hurt us this year, is facility usage, and then the timing of our academic calendar.
got it.
So we actually finished testing in the first semester before Christmas break, like I feel like everybody should in general, and we
Right.
get out a lot earlier, like in May.
Right.
So
That's
that's
always one of the big differences from the north to the south is the calendar
yeah,
in the south kind of follows more of a college,
yep,
that's why that first year when you graduate high school in the north, if you're going to school in the south, it's like you have a month off because
yep,
you don't graduate until what, June, end of June,
yeah, yeah,
and that's we argue this back and forth about state to state and how things are. That's why I love doing this podcast and talking to guys from all over the country in terms of how they do it. Like, does somebody have spring ball? What's your calendar look like? What are you allowed to do in the off season? What can't you do in the off season? Like the schools in the South that have either football class as the first block of the day, right? It's implemented in like Texas and some of these other states, or have spring ball, have a leg up because, you just have the ability to kind of do some of those things that in other states you really don't. And the
yeah,
calendar comes into it. So when you're talking administration, vertical alignment, everybody wanting to get better, that stuff all plays a role into how we can work this or how we can make it the best for our student athletes where we're at.
yeah, absolutely. And like this year, like I love the calendar because it gets the freshmen on campus before our first game. And now, technically, apparently, it's against the law to do that. You can't have this calendar, which is news to me, right? So now
Interesting.
we're going back to the old calendar. We're going to start later, or we're going to start. We're going to start with, like, during the first week of like games. We're going to be, already
It's your
had.
first week of school.
Yeah, it's like so those freshmen that couldn't have a ride all summer are going to be late, Do you close the
Right.
door on those kids? No, probably not. You just let them try to figure it out as best they can. But then, at the end of our end of in spring for this year, normally I get the last 10 days before exams start. And that's what I do. I do the last 10 days right before exams. And that runs into baseball playoffs. That runs into lacrosse conference tournament. We're hosting the lacrosse conference tournament on our turf. So then where else do I practice? Well, I'm supposed to practice on the baseball field because that's where we've practiced for years, 100 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And I can't do that because they have games still. We don't have grass practice fields. Our facilities are inside a park. We
Got
don't
it.
have, like, we're in the middle of the city. So like we don't have all
Yeah.
this.
You have a very specified area for play.
My first 2 years, we had practice on a baseball field and we painted it every week, and that's just how it was. Then we get the turf, and all summer long, it's ours in the morning. But then you get to the fall, well,
Yeah,
youth
it's
soccer's
everybody.
out there, and field hockey's got games, and there's days a week, and we got to go back to the baseball field. So you can't do 2-minute drill, you can't do all this other stuff, right? So that throws into a wrench for spring ball. So I'm going to get really uncomfortable this spring, and we're going to go in the morning. Well, what does that do for the kids that ride the yellow bus? I don't know.
Right, because it's not like it's not now like administration's gonna say, hey, coach, hey, can I get an early bus? Like,
yeah, it's not gonna work because we got a bus driver shortage. So it's like, all right, well, we're gonna roll. We're gonna try to get as many kids as we can there, and see how it goes.
now
Right.
I know I referenced it before. Is your school calendar? Do you have a block where it's football or athletics or any of that? Is that built into the school schedule at all?
We have tried very, very hard to get that done. My principal is pretty, I would say, solid. He's solid. I mean, he's very supportive of me. He stays out of the way. He lets me kind of just handle my guys as best I can, especially with discipline and stuff like that, which is huge.
That's awesome.
Very supportive. He does the best that he can for me.
Right.
With all the things. We're an art magnet. So you got 3 different political parties he's got to take care of: academics, athletics, and arts. And he tries to keep them all happy as much as he can. And that's really hard. So he rarely tells me no if I can get it done on my own. So I've tried to get a football weightlifting class, and he's never told me no, but it never gets done. Right. So he tells me now, like, you just got to monitor it, make sure it gets done, and he's like, I've never told you no, coach. Like, if you want it, you can have it as long as you can make it happen. So now I'm working with another department, which those are things you don't think of as like an assistant going to be a head coach. You mean I got to work hand in hand with the guidance department to get what I need done? Like, you don't mean the principal just says do it and go? No, it's not how it works. So we don't necessarily have that right now. Do we have a full day of weightlifting classes? Yeah. Is it honors credit? Absolutely. That was the best thing we've ever done.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's driven numbers, which is good because now you can't look at me and go, well, I'm trying to be the valedictorian. Well, you can and take my class, so we have guys lifting during the day. We don't have our whole team lifting. This year, we're going to try again and try to get it done as much as we can. And see how that goes. But, we could do so much if we had that football class.
Right.
Meetings and individual time and all kinds of stuff we can get done.
Right.
So we're going to keep working on it.
No doubt. I mean, those are all things that are like, it sounds like you got to have a long play approach to it all because you're going to get your things you need in pieces, and where some places are getting it right away, right, or have it right away, and that's always difficult because you got to figure out how to work around things and all that. I think that's a big part of continuing to obviously evolve the program, and I think that I mean, you made the playoffs and you're on the right approach. I think just keep continuing to get those guys to get into workouts, improving. Like I don't know. Do they play? Like do you guys have the ability to work with them in the off season? I know North Carolina's weird with some of that stuff. Like you can't be near them. Like you can't go if there's used to be if there was like a combine, like you couldn't coach that combine if your kids were there or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they changed all that stuff now. But I think that are you able to work with them like skill stuff in the off season besides the speed and strength and those kind of things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
We
cool.
can. We absolutely can. A lot of my coaches are doing other stuff too. So
Right. That's
doing all
always
the
the big thing too, man. Like it's really hard to get assistant coaches nowadays. Like I'm always in awe of how Coach Shu had, coaching 10-year-olds has like a full staff of guys that are volunteering their time. Like there's no money attached to it. And those guys are still there every night and they do that extra work for it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
we
it's
do
just
workouts on Sundays with them.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, and this is it's like,
and the
it's
kids come.
wild.
Well, I think part of it is like, I memean, one the town I'm in, because obviously I've coached and Derek has coached me. We've coached at places where football wasn't that important. And you had to build it. And then I've coached at places where it was important, right? And with my youth kids and my son's group, football's important to the people there. You know what I mean? Like it really is. So when there's a culture in the town, that makes when you start to make some things that you'd like to demand to like create standards and stuff, there is a cultural aspect to help them understand. And the only reason I say it because I've coached in places where there was none of it, right? And you had to build it, right? And when you have to build it, there's beauties to both sides of it, right? When you have to build it, once they get on board, they see it. Like you kind of get like a rocket ship thing going on. When you have a culture to begin with where football is important, those people have standards too. So you got to recognize that you need to make sure your standards are even higher than their standards. And because otherwise they're going to push you the heck out of there. So, and not at youth football, but I'm saying like in the high school, I see it. Like I see it with the public school and the private schools that are around us. Like everybody around where we are, they have standards of where they expect football to be. And if they don't feel that you're pushing, and part of that is, in the new world, right? Like knowing where you're at, where you can push more progressively, like obviously you have to do, and where there's already like let's say Mallard Creek, right? If someone comes into Mallard Creek and they push less, like it's going to be hard for that guy if he doesn't win, you know what I'm saying? They're not going to accept it, you know what I'm saying? Because there's been a tradition there, right? So knowing the place that you're at and what the standards are and you always got to be way above, in my opinion, what they are. But if you and you have to have your own standards is what you adhere to, and that should be really high to begin with. But when you're building in places where they don't know a lot about standards that they got to get to, there is a progressive part to it, which is a mind share thing. And like I said, there's beauties to both of it. I mean, really, I've been excited about where it's, you're like, wow, like these people want to be great. Like I gotta, like don't hold back, right? And then there's beauty to like this kid that like doesn't even know what a football is and a great athlete, and all of a sudden he comes out for you, and you see him take off like a rocket ship, and a group of his friends take off like a rocket ship, and there's something great about that too. So it really is knowing where you're at, having your own standard that that you have, and making sure you understand where you're at. Because I do think, like it sounds like you really do understand the place you're at. But I've seen it like where coaches come into places, especially places that have high standards, and they don't understand what that place expects.
Oh,
Like, and they misread that. Like they're just gonna go and do something completely different. It's like, man, you just
I've been on both sides of that.
yeah,
right.
you know where you are,
When we got to Mallard Creek, I remember people telling us, man, this Charlotte ball is different, man. Y'all don't understand. Y'all, because we're all from Greensboro.
right.
And we were trying to build the person as much as possible with football. And they were like, we don't want to hear that. We don't need no daddies. We want to win. And I was like, whoa, like nobody's ever really said that to me. Right. And then, like 6 wins at Mallard Creek's not good enough.
100%.
And we had a 6-win season. That was not good. Like I felt like the world was falling down.
Right.
Yeah.
We get the 6 wins here.
Yeah,
like,
somebody's gonna. You might get a statue.
Yeah, building a statue. I'm like, no, man, we haven't done anything yet. We've done nothing. Exactly. And like when I first got to Reynolds, I remember like we won 2 games my first year, and I just felt like the worst coach in America. Like, because you have one
standards,
right? But I have a standard of like, these are the things we got to do to win, and we'd get our heads beat in by like 40 plus. And I'm walking off the field. I'm waiting for a parent to like fight me. No, they're like, Coach, better luck next time. Yeah. What are you talking about? Like, I want someone to point their finger in my face like, that's not good enough, dude. And, that comes with, you don't want a whole bunch of that. But like now I got some parents who are a little bit like vocal, but like, no, we need to do more. And it's funny, like, some of my staff is like, man, those parents are a problem. Like, we didn't have those before. But they're the same guy. Like, they show up every day.
Shows how your program is transitioning or trending or tracking upward. I mean, look, I make this reference. Like that preseason poster with all the seniors and the calendar, like the game day schedules and whatnot. Like, if it's listed here where, that week after the regular season, if it says consolation game, like that's a standard. If it says NJSIAA playoff round 1, there's your standard. Like that's what the expectation is, and that's where it should be, right? And look, you also want a little bit of that. Hey, like, what are we doing? Like the standard should, like a 500 season, just making, like losing in the first round for some programs and some schools is like great. And then some places that's not where it's at, right? Because that standard needs to be set continuously. It doesn't change. Like, this is where we want to go. We got to get there. So let's put the work into it, understand what's expected.
And where you are in North Carolina, because North Carolina is like, I mean, not unique to the South, but like it has like multiple bigger cities surrounded by lots of space, right? In between, you know what I mean? So, and everything around those bigger city areas like Charlotte, the Greensboro down by towards Winston, that whole area. And then you get towards obviously the Research Triangle area, right? That's a large area. And so you got those areas and pockets of like of pride in football, but Charlotte is obviously widely regarded as kind of kings, and a lot of it started. And the only reason I know is because I ran camps all over the place, and I spent a lot of time in North Carolina and a lot of time with Tommy Knotts in his program when he was at Independence, and that was where we first started running camps down there. When he was at Independence, he's now in. I don't. He might be. I don't. He might be
in Dutch Fork, South Carolina.
Is he still at Dutch Fork?
Yeah,
he is.
Won another one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, so Tommy, and it's it's not like just no, I don't know him like in and out, but like we would talk, when we get around to when he would run, the camps and stuff, and and he was always great, but like everything, like he was always like on point, and like have things set up for you, and move quickly. Like he didn't even have to be there really, to make sure everything was set for you. But what he did with Independence really took Charlotte. Like football was always good there, but it took the prominence of Charlotte football to a whole nother level. And Independence was a unique place where at the time, I don't know if it's still that way, but like he was able to bring players in from all over the place, which gave him a unique advantage, right? Yeah. He had that international, like I remember they would come in. I remember oh, look, we have this internet, like we have kids from all over the world that come here. And it was some sort of unique environment where so he was able to take advantage of that. And obviously he had Chris Leak and, and
Hakeem Nicks.
Brother. Yeah, right. And so they, guys that like unbelievable. So, but that brought the promise. So now then you got like all those programs around there, Mallet Creek, even the private schools, Providence Day, and all these different programs around there. And I'm missing, there's like probably like 10 of them that have rotated the powerhouse part of that area. And when you're in a different area and there's certain programs that are good, you're right. Like, they don't realize that, like, no, like we're good, but like this area over here, like they're in a war every single week to try. Like, if they don't have a great season this year, their players are going to go over here next year, right? And so they have to be on their P's and Q's at all time. Where the beauty is, it's not quite as big a deal right now where you are. I'm sure if you all of a sudden reeled off a couple 11-0 seasons, then all of a sudden the ante starts to get raised, and that's what happens. But and over the Research Triangle, like they have some powerhouse programs. It's a wider area because you got like 3 smaller big cities, all with different groups of talent, like fighting for it, and they all think they're like the greatest educated places in the world. So that's always a big focus out there in Durham, Raleigh, and Chapel Hill. But and that now I can't think of the town that's like the big business town over there. It's a big city now. It's also part of that Research Triangle. But that area is grown so tremendous. But like where you are, it's like as you start to keep pitching to everybody, it's like, hey man, like we could be that, but like we got to raise our bar, right? Like we got to raise our bar. And why not be the standard in this area that like everyone's like, oh my God, like, normally you get to the playoffs and you got to face a Charlotte team, face a team for your area. They just think, oh, we're putting up a ton of points, right? Like we're beat. Now you want them to have that fear level of playing, RJ Reynolds, and that's what you're like continue to continue to grow. And I love that part of it. Before I got to jump off in a second, but I have one more question. And I'll let you guys continue because and then I got to come back with you, Derek, with right at 12.
Yep. Coach Hines coming on.
Big podcast day. I guess I don't get to celebrate Martin Luther King Day.
Listen, buddy, we gotta take these guys that are off of school. We gotta hop on it while we can. We gotta take advantage.
Dude, I get no celebration. Not only do I have 3 podcasts, then I gotta take my son to his 3v3 league he plays, and then of course somehow our travel basketball team has a game at 8:00 at night during national championship night. Like, what's that about?
Oh man, no thank you.
Did we draw the bad lot or what? How the hell did we have a game at 8:00 at night when that?
Thank God for streaming, buddy.
I'm gonna be like this. I'm an assistant. They could have something up the head, and maybe I could sneak some like looks. You know what I mean? At the phone.
Yeah.
But my quick question is like, what is your like where do you see it going for yourself with the program in the near future? Like, what are some of your kind of hopes and aspirations? And then I'll let you guys can continue because it's a good conversation. I love, especially because you guys are from a different state. We like to have guys from different places around the country to hear what it is. Good.
Yeah. I think we've gotten, like you said earlier in the show, like we had a great first half of the year. And then we faltered. I think we're in a conference where there's 3 top dogs, and we got to find a way to close the gap on them. We've for years, if you go back and do the research, where I think our average score against those 3 schools is like 44-7. Like we get throttled. Those are the guys that grab all the guys around us, and it's an open enrollment district. That's where I'm at.
I was going to ask that. That's some of the
is that Forsyth, East and West, and then okay.
Yeah. So like it's open enrollment and it's not quite fair because it's not quite the same for everybody.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different things going on in there. We didn't have the facilities. Now we got a brand new turf stadium that we've never had on campus before. We used to travel to play. Now we got a brand new $130,000 weight room that was updated for the first time in over 20 years. So now you're just trying to build the most attractive program in Winston, to garner the interest of as many student athletes as possible. Right. And I think that's the job of what we do as head coaches, just make your program as attractive as possible. So now we've gotten to a point where, all right, now we can get to the playoffs. Now we can get winning seasons. How do we take that next step? Right. We're not one.
By the way, that's a great facility. I'm looking at it right here. Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So how do you not go one and done in the playoffs? How do you get from 6 wins to beating one of those 3 at least every year, right? Stealing a win maybe you're not supposed to, things like that. I think that's the next step. I think the biggest thing that I see with this program is we got to get to a point where we don't look at that schedule or we don't walk out for warmups and lose in the warmups.
Yep.
Don't look
at what it says on somebody's jersey, man. Just play the
who
person.
cares? Stand your ground, spot the ball, go to work. Like, to me, that's
one of the hardest battles. I think that's one of the hardest battles.
Yeah.
For listen, college kids at Division I levels have a hard time with it when all of a sudden, they're at a program that's moving up, and then all of a sudden they face Georgia. You know what I mean? They're looking at that red with the Georgia on it. That's why people wear uniforms, 100%. Right? It's like, so again, I'm sorry.
No, it's a brand. We're building our own brand, right?
Right.
Yes.
We're building a brand of football over here, Reynolds, that says we are competitive, and we should be given the same amount of time they spend on the other 3 when they play each other, right? Because we're going to come with a great game plan ready to play. And I think our kids look at some of those teams and are like, man, I don't know. Like I've been told by people, we come down the stairs for our games and they're like, yeah, it just didn't look right coming down the stairs when you guys were playing Reagan for homecoming, and it's like, well, if other people can see it, that we're not doing a good job of, kind of putting up a wall of our emotions is just going to play, so what's that next step to kind of mentally win that game, before the game actually happens. So we want to at least get a little further in the playoffs. I don't think we're quite state championship level yet. We're still pretty young, but I think my younger kids are a lot more wired for winning because that's all they know at this point. Like our JV team won 7 games, for the first time forever. Our varsity team, we played a bunch of sophomores this year. And that's just what we're going to roll with those guys and try to do the best that we can as we move forward and continue to build a program that everybody wants to be a part of.
You're definitely on the right track, and you can see the trending thing, and it's like just keep putting the foot, pedal to the metal, and the way I look at it is like keep thinking about what kind of extreme things can change the culture. You know what I mean? Like that's always one of the things that I always used to try. We didn't talk about it, but I've coached some bad places and would make what you've had to take over look like, I'd be dancing in the streets if I had to take over that program. So, and I've taken that said team to the state championship 5 years later. Right. So, and it would be a movie how bad they were to where they went to, but, it was one of those things where I had to like pick and choose. I wanted to pick and choose extreme areas where I would like test them and just see, right? And then I'd fail at it. You know what I mean? Like, like you test them and it's like, damn, they didn't respond. You know what I mean? And then test them again. Man, like 10 of them responded. You know what I mean? Like not the whole team responded, but 10 of them responded. Wow. Overwhelming majority of them are now responding. Now we got a chance. Like now we got a chance. And if we can get, 99 out of 100 guys to respond, I can figure out who that outlier is and just not put that guy on the field. You know what I mean? And make sure that, and then eventually, obviously you get 100 to 100, you're going to win the state championship. So that are willing to respond. But I think it's those extreme elements. Like I was, I came from, I'm much older. I came from like traditional stuff, but I happened to coach in some great systems, like between run and shoot and the Navy triple ops. So I was exposed to some really good stuff when I was young. But as far as a system wise, like I did have to figure some of it out on my own, even though I had great mentors. And one of the things, because it was very few people I could talk to about like, have you ever experienced this? Well, no, they were like, I would never take that job. You know what I mean? Like that was usually their answer. So I was like, I got to figure it out. And then what I really started to do was just watch college programs that did like, man, guys would be like, hey, I put the ball on the 5-yard line. We got 5 minutes to score 6 touchdowns. Let's go. Like, and just let them battle. Like now people come to practice like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. And you know what? We were doing it at one point, doing different things like that once a week, right? Not just a 2-minute drill, but you have 3 downs to get 10 yards, just like in college. And if you don't get it, there was a consequence. Okay. The winner got a reward and the loser got, had to pay that price. And all of a sudden it got like chippy. And I was like, okay, because how could you manufacture when they don't know, right? Because that's really the hardest. When they don't know, you do kind of know, right? What it takes, and
sometimes you assume that they do know, right? And you miss a whole piece of it because you're just under the assumption of okay, they get it, they understand what it is. Like you got to coach every bit of it.
I think continuing to manufacture it, manufacture those situations in the off season, right? I mean, that's where Tony's thing is great. The record, rank, publish, because you're kind of manufacturing, right?
Competition.
You're manufacturing competition, right? Off-season drills, we used to manufacture it. Like we used to do these. I mean, literally, it's simple. I mean, we still do this to this day, even our tryouts. Like I know Derek's one of his big drills is we just the shuttle run, and instead of timing them, we just have them race each other. You lost, you got push-ups, you got whatever. Like, and people will say this all the time. Like, I'm not big on like doing push-ups per se as punishment because I want them to want to work out. But there are times that you could use those things for competition purposes that it's worthwhile. Like I always say, like, hey man, you either win or you get stronger. It's not you win or you have to push-ups. It's either you win or you're going to get stronger. So either way, you're winning here, but like, so they would look at the push-ups as much as like, oh man, I got to do push-ups. It was like, well, I got to get stronger, right? Like, because I'm not fast enough, so I better be good at something.
Right.
So those things are, and you know what? Over time, like that's when I just think like you probably saw it when you go to 6 win when you're undefeated. You're like, okay, there's something going, man. Like right there. Even though you probably knew in the back of your head, oh, we still got to run a play against some juggernauts, and I don't know if we're there. Yeah. But you're like, okay,
close. That's all I want.
We're that close. And it just keep pushing those like once in a while extreme levels of competition because they get so jacked up about it. It's amazing. I would say it's because of the fall of phys ed, in my opinion, that they do get jacked up about these moments, right? Like phys ed used to be like an outlet. We could go and play some phys ed and we play whatever these weird games and stuff and just compete and let it out and have fun like it was in the back, like you're playing in the backyard. Well, that's less and less a thing in schools. And you know what? You incorporate that into your football program. Like it's great. It's crazy. It's like, you know what the truth is? Most kids are still 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about emotionally. I'm talking obviously they're all close to, but as far as how they think about excitement in sports, college kids are the same way. They're still 10-year-olds. They're still like, you know what? The best part of my life was when I grabbed my friend and we went and played in the park and we banged around with each other. And you when you replicate that, like, even though knowing that you obviously have structural things you always have to do, but like, man, they just in bits and pieces, it's like I'm always shocked at, like, I say at the end of practice, all right, tug of war. Like, man, 5 minutes ago you weren't giving me much. All of a sudden I said tug of war.
All of a sudden you're like, yeah, where did you come from? Oh, I didn't know you're that fast. Well, look, when we made it a relay race, now all of a sudden you're flying around, right? Tony talks about it all the time, right? Like, that's why he gauges vertical jump. Like, ain't nobody not trying to jump high. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things. And that's why I love the rank, record, publish. Like, you're not doing it to call guys out or make guys feel a certain type of way. But at the same time, you are a little bit, because I want you to be uncomfortable. And if you don't look at yourself on the bottom of that list and want to get better, like, that's a problem, No
doubt.
100%.
It's no doubt. But let me go. You guys continue. And listen, it's great having you on. You're a Jersey guy, which makes it even better.
I appreciate it.
You're just a Southern gentleman, reformed now. You're
That's
Southern.
right.
That's it. That's it.
Transplant.
That's it. That's it. Coach, I'll talk to you later. It's great meeting you, and best of luck. You're doing a great job, dude. You really are. It's exciting seeing a young coach that's willing to take on that head coach position and just deal with those battles. I was once that guy. The same thing, like just figuring it out, man. And I was just like, you know what? There's nothing better than that. Nothing better than that.
It's fun. I appreciate you guys for.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Coach. You guys continue. Have a great day.
You as well.
Coach, man, like look, it's like I said, you're doing a good job, like a great job with the program and whatnot. We talked about, like, the next steps within the program itself and whatnot. Just a couple more questions. Like, one, how will you continue? And I know you touched on it a little bit, but if you could go in a little deeper, how will you continue to grow your program in terms of, how do we increase our numbers, right? And, I don't know the structure of it right now. Like, what's your total roster size? How many guys do you have on the team? How does it break down?
It's fluctuated. So my first year was 74. My second year was 89. And then last year was like 74 again. We have not had a rich history of high numbers, even at a 7A football program with 1,800.
Is that the highest classification in North Carolina?
Yeah, it's the second highest. So the top 32 ADM team, like schools, are 8A. A lot of those schools are like 2,000 and plus.
Right. So it'd be like here in Group 5, like a Group 5, like a Toms River North, Toms River. Like, those are the guys that are, you got your biggest classification. Public, private, does that fluctuate? How does that, are they in their own world? Are they all lumped in with you guys?
No,
it's not really a thing.
There's a couple of private schools that play in the public league, and then the rest are play in the private league.
Got it.
And obviously
even playoffs, like, you're not all lumped together. They play their own,
so
or
like,
you are.
Charlotte Catholic plays in the public league. So they'll go to the public playoffs. It just depends. You got to sign in to do it. They've left before and they've come back. A lot of the schools stay out and do their own thing, and that's fine. I think there's a lot of flack with that here, and all that stuff, because they can kind of recruit.
Of course. Look, it's the thing. It's the thing everywhere, right?
Like that, like it just is what it is. It's the rent.
Being somebody that coached in the big north, up north at Bosco, for a year, to understand that world, right? Like, they all, like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Now, moving down here, like, it's not that big of a thing, because there's just not that many that can kind of, or the resources of whatever it is. Like, it's just not it's not as big of a thing where I'm at now, right? Especially within this conference itself. I mean, you only really have Donovan Catholic, Red Bank Catholic, St. John Vianney. Two of them are, Monmouth County. So if you're thinking of going privately, you're going to have to really make moves and really dive into that. Right. What we have seen here in Jersey is, like, a lot more of the southern schools, like South Jersey, like Philly-ish type area, those bigger regional schools where you got 3-4 towns that make up, you know what I mean, like a high school. they've gotten a lot better because their talent stays, because there's just not many options to go to a private school. Whereas up north, you throw a rock and it's Don Bosco, Bergen Catholic, St. Joe's Montvale, St. Peter's, like they're all within a same distance. You know what I mean? Like it's different when it comes to classification. And then in the playoffs, like they go and just play each other. You know what I mean? So they beat the hell out of each other. There's something to be said. They've tried to do things in the state. Like if a public wants to go play a private regular season, like they'll give you more points towards the playoffs and increase your whatever. But it is what it is. Like, it's just kind of part of it. Yeah. I know with the open enrollment thing for you, right? Making your program more of an appeal, like, right, facility wise, wins and all that, just attracts more eyes or deters guys from going other places. So is that like how on your list of important things, how much, like, where does that rank, right? In order to get kids in, is that a big pull for it, right? In terms of we got to do these things.
I think when I got here, like I said before, we didn't have a stadium on campus. Right. And we shared a stadium with another school in our conference.
Facilities are huge, man.
Yeah, man. So it wasn't a place a lot of kids wanted to go play in,
Right.
Because Reagan has this huge hill they walk down. It's like really
so
cool.
Clemson-ish.
Comes out of the stands, West Forsyth has this nice like place in the middle of Clemens. So we didn't have that, and then our weight room was like a dungeon,
literally.
The kids don't even want to go down there and lift because the bars are rusted and the plates
are
old.
Yeah. Why am I going to go lift here? Like, I need a tetanus shot when I'm done.
Right. So, and coming in, it was like, all right, well, we already knew the stadium was happening. It just had to get done.
Right. Because you can say it's getting done and it's in the works and they can see it. But when it's actually like,
totally different.
I see it going up,
Yeah. Like, and that made a huge difference for our kids. Oh man, I just want to get there. I just want to play. I just want to play on that. And then you go to game one and it's like, you look around, we're packed house. This is the first time in 100 years we've had a stadium on campus. You know how many people came to that game? And granted,
hell yeah,
it's not a big stadium. Like we can only seat 2,400 people.
That's not really what it's about. It's not like,
but it was
these schools in Texas where 5 schools play at one of these monstrous stadiums. And, it's just, it's something to be said for having your own niche within it. The facility doesn't have to be by definition a stadium or a monster or whatever it is, but just some place to call your home.
Yeah.
Look, I see it a ton when I was up north, you know what I mean? Like more the interstate, like Newark would all play at a certain stadium or whatever, that to not have your own home base where you're, like you say, you're traveling to go to play a game or practice or do any of that. Like it just adds another hoop that you have to jump through in order to get guys to like want to, hey coach, I don't want to get on a bus to go to practice. Right. I don't want to go play somewhere that's not even on campus. Like just another hurdle,
Yeah, absolutely. So it changed us absolutely. And then our weight room has helped a ton, because now the kids are like, oh, this is cool. I want to use this stuff.
Right.
So I think obviously that ranks very high, but it's hard to get done. I mean, it takes a lot of money. You don't we're in a huge budget deficit and deficit.
A lot of vertical alignment, man, where it has to come from the top and those people signing those checks and understanding what can come of it. Right. It's a lot, and here you are just trying to coach high school football, but that's a pivotal part to getting the success on the field is all of the off the field stuff. I think that's what really, really, really deters guys from wanting to be head coaches. You know what I'm saying? And for you to be doing all this at such a young age, like so ahead of the curve when it comes to it, that forward thinking, that patience that it takes to kind of look like this year we got this, next year we'll get this, right? To see what's coming down the road. I think in an impatient society, like trusting the process is a true thing. Like, and you have to. And if you try and do too much too fast, or it's not fully vested, or, you're still on the fence with certain things, like, no, man, you got to be all in and you got to understand, like, what do I push for now? What am I okay with waiting? And it might be, and it's a learning experience, right? Because every year there's something, hey, I got to do this different, or hey, my focus needs to be more here. My staff needs to do, you know what I mean, this or that delegation of, hey man, like you can't always be the guy trying to do everything, or it's just not going to work. So I think that's like at such a young age, man, like you really got it going and humming. And I hope, and I think that everybody is, they see it, right? And now each year will just be more of a, okay, check this box, check this box, check this box, and just continue the process, man. I think it's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time, man. If there's ever anything, you know, that we can do for you, please let us know. If you ever do venture back north, like God help you, but like, you know, if you ever want to sit down or do anything, just let us know. But what we usually do at the end is like kind of give you a couple, you know, give you a little bit of your time to either plug something if you want to, or just, you know, kind of bring it all together and leave us with a little something before we let you go.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, just appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk with you guys. It's always nice to connect with some Jersey people. You know, I don't got anybody down here that knows what we've been through, right?
Yeah, man.
So
that intro usually gets everybody. They usually start bumping. They're like, oh, what is, you know, like it kind of like it's that Jersey feel right in your face,
no
like
doubt.
to just start the whole thing. So we usually get a little something like, oh, you guys are definitely from Jersey.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just appreciate it. And, you know, I think football is just a great sport. It's one of the best things that have happened in my life. It's, you know, I think giving back to the sport is what fuels me every day. You know, I had great coaches. I've coached with great coaches. And coaching is a really needed commodity, I think, in the world. I think it's underappreciated in a lot of ways. You know, so if you are
there,
if you are coaching, man, do it for the right reasons, do it for the kids, give them a great experience, and they'll always pay you back by, you know, giving you a great experience. Because I think that's what's happened to me here, you know, and jumping
we learn
in.
just as much from them as they do from us, man.
100%. So appreciate you guys, and good luck to you as you go through the off season, and hopefully we all, you know, get a little bit of success this year.
Absolutely, Coach. Hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Look forward to keeping in touch. And like I said, if there's anything that myself or Dave or anybody else we can ever do for you, man, please let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach.
All right, man. Have a great day, man. Good luck.
You as well.
All right.